Okay. So the first portion of the meeting is going to be a short presentation just to kind of set the stage, put this in context for where we are in the overall process. That'll be 5-10 minutes at the most. And then the majority of the meeting, the next hour and 15 minutes, is really a brainstorming session with this group all around education, job training, what we can do in the community. So I'm going to get us rolling here. Okay, so my name is Adam Rosa. I'm with Collabo Planning and Design. We are the planning coordinators for the Choice Neighborhood Plan, which means we're really here to serve as a resource and to help facilitate the conversation throughout the 2-year period. There we go. So I know there's definitely some familiar faces in the room, but for those that are maybe new to the process, I just want to give you a little bit of an overview. So Choice Neighborhoods is HUD's place-based initiative for reinvesting in public housing sites. But it's different than previous programs that really just focused on the site itself. What Choice Neighborhoods does is it takes a broader kind of comprehensive view of community improvement. So it focuses on these 3 pillars. We have the housing, which obviously is critical, affordable and mixed income housing. We have the neighborhood level, which are all of the physical improvements that can happen in the surrounding area. Things like parks, transit, commercial areas, promoting new business, all of that kind of falls under the neighborhood element. And then there's the people element, which is really what we're here to focus on today. So the people is primarily about how are we improving the quality of life for residents that live in the community, and how are we creating a ladder to success for future generations. So our team is made up of the Fayetteville Metropolitan Housing Authority, the City of Fayetteville. I mentioned I'm from Collabo, we're the planning coordinators. We also have a set of community ambassadors that have been really critical to what we've been doing so far over the past year. And I think a couple of our ambassadors are on the line here, and you will hear from them shortly. We also have a project steering committee that's kind of been a sounding board for a lot of what we're doing. So we'll have a big community meeting. We'll take that feedback to the steering committee and we'll refine it and review it. And that's the same thing we're going to be doing with these working groups. So the outcome of these groups will then go to our committee, and we'll be able to start to formulate and create the plan from that. So the area that we're focused on, it's really the entire Murchison corridor from Fayetteville State University on the south, all the way up past Country Club Pamela on the north. And that it also includes the former Walmart shopping center just over Country Club. And within this larger footprint, we have what we call the target housing site, which is the Murchison townhouse property, which you can see outlined in orange. We go east and west to basically to the creeks. So there's Cross Creek on one side and Little Cross Creek on the other side. And this is really it's an asset-based project, an asset-based process. So we've been really focused on identifying the building blocks that are already here in the community, the schools, the parks, the health clinics, the churches, everything that really creates the DNA of the Murchison community, and how do we build from that? So this entire area is about 6,800 residents. It's about 3 square miles. It's a federally designated opportunity zone, and it's also a designated neighborhood revitalization strategy area. As I mentioned, the target housing site, that's the FMHA property. It's called Murchison Townhouses. It was built in 1970. So we feel it's kind of reached towards the end of its lifespan, and that really critical improvements are needed there to create a better quality of life for families. So we have the option to rebuild housing on this property or explore other options, other locations, either within the neighborhood or areas of opportunity. So we're slowly moving into that part of the process, and we had a housing and commercial working group meeting this morning. But Well, our goal is really to do a one-for-one replacement of the housing that's there today, but bring additional levels of affordable and potentially even market rate housing to the neighborhood overall to create that mixed income setting. The 2-year-long planning process overall, we started in November of 2021, and we're kind of right smack dab in the middle now with the strategies and the programs and projects. So up to this point, we've been doing a lot of listening and learning and visioning with large groups and big online forums and hands-on outdoor community meetings. But we've also been doing smaller community conversations, especially moving indoors now with COVID. We're having to do a little bit more of this type of meeting, this type of setting. But we're really at that kind of pivotal point in the process where we're going to be developing these strategies in the program that's going to lead into the next year of creating that plan for the neighborhood. Once we have the plan in place, we can apply for what's called a Choice Neighborhood Implementation Grant, which could be up to $40 to $50 million to support everything we want to do, which would be rebuilding housing. It would be implementing these people projects to connect residents to opportunity. So we have 5 working groups that are all meeting this week at the first round of meetings. And you will notice that there's definitely overlap between some of these topics. And we've had our first couple of meetings yesterday and today with history, equity, and inclusion and housing and commercial development. There were definitely ideas and topics that kind of flowed out of those meetings that directly kind of impact what we're talking about with education and job training. And I'm sure there'll be some kind of vice versa. So it's our job to distill all this feedback into a solid plan that hits on all these different topic areas. So this first meeting today is really about identifying desired outcomes, thinking about what's working and what's not working, and starting to come up and brainstorm some initial strategies around this topic. In February, we'll come back and we'll have this list of strategies and project ideas that we'll begin to prioritize and rank. And then by the third meeting, we'll be identifying partners and resources, at least for the top ideas that this group identifies. So it's kind of an iterative process, and we hope you can kind of stay with us through the 3 months. So with the email that was sent out last week, it really included a number of different attachments just for your reference. So we included some background information that had demographic info. It had a lot of feedback that we've heard over the last year during doing our community outreach and engagement. It also had a resident needs assessment survey that we conducted in the fall of all 100% of the households at Murchison townhouses, because we want the programs that we developed to directly link to the residents that live there today, as well as the broader neighborhood. We sent out a meeting schedule and also a worksheet, which is really what we're going to be going through here today. So if you had a chance to jump into the worksheet, that's great. If you didn't get a chance to do that, no problem. We're going to fill it out in real time here. So now we're going to kind of shift over to the interactive portion of the meeting. So let me pull that up and we will go ahead and get started. All right, so we have 18 people on the call. If we had everybody introduce themselves, that'd probably take half the meeting. So what we're going to do is just hit a quick poll so everybody can kind of see where everybody else is coming from. So I'm going to launch this poll, and you should be able to see it on your screen here. And so the first question is basically tell us about yourself. You can click as many of these as you'd like. You live in the neighborhood, go to church in the neighborhood, work in the neighborhood, go to school in the neighborhood. You're with an organization that serves people in the neighborhood, or you live outside the neighborhood, but you're just really interested in the future of the community. So we'll give everybody a minute or two to fill that in. And then the next question is really how we're connected. If you see the list of participants, do you know everybody on this call? Do you think you know half the people on the call? Do you not know anybody? Like this is your first time jumping into this group? So take a minute or two, and we'd like to just get a sense of who's in the room. All right, well, it looks like we have about 14 out of the 16 people that are here. 15, okay, so the majority of people, 60%, live outside the neighborhood, but they're interested in the future. And also 60% are with organizations that serve people in the neighborhood. We had about 20% that go to school here. We had about 20% that live here. A few people each that go to church here and work in the neighborhood. And it looks like the majority of people on this call know at least half the people, or 25% to half the people on the call. And probably about four or five people haven't met anybody on the call before. So thank you for being here. Really appreciate that, whether you've been with us for the past year doing a lot of these meetings, or if this is your first time. So welcome to the group. Okay, so what we're going to do now, we have a what we got? About an hour and 10 minutes. So we are going to fire up what is called the Mural Board, which is an online platform where we're kind of in real time. We're able to fill in feedback. You should be able to see it on your screen. And so just as an example, these are the first two working groups that we completed over the last couple of days. So you can see we have these worksheets in here. We have all of these notes that people have given us through those first couple of meetings. So we're going to do the same thing here with education and job training. So you'll see me and Andrea kind of scrolling around and adding notes as you speak. But I wanted to just kind of get us started. So the first worksheet is really what is working and what is not working on kind of a higher level in the community. And we've broken it up into two different areas around education. So education questions like, how is the educational environment in the neighborhood today? What role does Fayetteville State University play in the neighborhood? Like, what's working, what's not? Job training, how is the local employment environment for neighborhood residents? And what's working to help residents achieve success with employment, and what isn't working? And we've heard a few things in our previous meetings that I'm really anxious to hear what you all have to think about some of these topics. And I'd like to start with our community ambassadors, because they've really been involved in this process over the last year. I see a few of them on the line here. So I'm going to start. I know Johnette is a little bit under the weather, but I'm going to start with Johnette. And if you want to jump in and give us your thoughts.
How you doing? Hello, everyone. Doing a little bit better. Voice is coming back.
Sound better.
Yeah, thank you. So in terms of how's the educational environment in the neighborhood, actually, I think it's historical. I actually attended Ferguson Easley. Well, I actually went to New Bowl, Ferguson Easley, E.E. Smith, and then FSU. So that's a reflection of just how important it is in the community, because it was just a half a block away from me. Each one of those schools were not far from my residence. I grew up on Murchison Road, the 1600 block. And right now, I think those facilities are generating opportunities for residents in the community that may not have ever thought of going to school. And it's just really close. And I'm not sure what they're doing in terms of scholarship opportunities. I was afforded one when I started at Fayetteville State. That's how I got there. Hadn't even made up my mind what I was going to do and was offered that opportunity. So I think they're doing a great job in terms of linking the local schools to Fayetteville State. And E.E. Smith has a rich history, Golden Bull. And I think the community, from what I can recall in growing up, the community always rallied behind those two entities in terms of E.E. Smith as well as Fayetteville State. So.
That's great. Do you get a special award if you attend every school in the neighborhood?
I think I could. No, I don't think we do. It's just my mother was determined I was going to graduate from E.E. Smith. I'm the third generation. So even though we didn't live in the area, I went to E.E. Smith. Because by the time I got to high school, we moved out of the Murchison Road area.
Okay. So I'm gonna kind of flip this, put you back on the spot, just in terms of what you think may not be working so well for education.
I think this whole community conversation. I've been gone for 25 years, so I just got back to Fayetteville. The whole conversation around moving E.E. Smith. I don't have a total grasp on what that is or when it's going to occur, and I think some of the negativity that has surrounded that whole discussion, to some degree, may have a bad reflection on the community as a whole. A lot of us want to hold on to Smith being in this community because that's just historically how it's been, and and until I get more information, I'm just not clear on what side to side with.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's a big topic that came up in a couple of the other groups. If and when E.E. Smith was to relocate, what's the next chapter for that campus, for that building, and how does it continue to serve the community? And I'd love to hear ideas around that today and as we go forward. So thank you for your feedback. I'm going to pass it over to, I think Sharonda is on the line as well. She's one of our community ambassadors. Sharonda, are you there? Oh, we may have lost her.
I just want to quickly interject, Adam, to all of our participants. Thank you so much for joining us. And this is an opportunity where you can feel free to unmute. You can do that from the bottom left of your screen. And if you're busy driving or in your office and you can't talk, you can always write us your comments on the chat. Thank you.
Thanks, Andrea. Yeah, I think Sharonda may have popped off. So yeah, let's just go ahead and open it up here for anybody that has a thought. I see Kim Williams. She's one of our ambassadors as well. Kim, do you want to jump in?
Hi, everybody. Good afternoon. Thank you for coming. With the education and training, I think we could utilize a media outlet to get the information and the opportunities that we come up with to the community, especially during the winter months, and to advertise those resources and career pathways, and definitely share the rich history so they can know why they should take pride in the community and definitely be involved. So that's where I'm at with it.
Thank
so
you.
far.
Yeah, thanks for sharing that.
Yeah.
Appreciate it. Okay. Who else would like to jump in now? We can talk specifically about what's working, what's not working in education, or we can also talk about job training and kind of the employment environment. Fred, I see Fred has his hand up. Let's go to Fred first, and then I'll continue to call on people.
Hello, how are you all?
Good.
All right, thank you all so much for hosting this as well. When it comes to what is working, I don't have an actual answer for that. I do have just the ideas of what I would like to see more. As someone who grew up halfway on the Murchison Road, excuse me, and then halfway on the other side of Fayetteville, I teeter-tottered with both sides growing up. And one thing that even now as an adult that I wish to see more is the pride of E.E. Smith and Fayetteville State University being more broadcasted throughout Murchison Road versus just that one specific area. I do feel like those visual effects and the visual art of that pride will influence the youth in the communities even further down on the other side of Murchison Road. And it will, make them stop and think twice before they make a certain, decision or action. So I do want to see more of that. And then I know you asked about the repurposing of the E. Smith High School building if it were to move. I honestly feel like Fayetteville itself lacks culture in various areas, and Murchison Road would be a great place to start doing that, and then it can spread throughout the rest of the city. So I think Murchison Road having a capital building where resources are dedicated to minorities, specifically, set outside of downtown Fayetteville, but giving Murchison Road like a capital building where they can find resources and where they can host events for job recruiters. And because I'm a manager myself, and I barely ever get asked to come out to the Murchison area to do, job events. And I have reached out several times, in different ways with Fayetteville State. We've partnered up with them. But a resource center where, is something a little bit bigger and more flamboyant than the recreation center.
Mm-hmm. That's a great idea. I love that idea of the community capital. And thank you for sharing that. I really appreciate that. All right, I see some other hands up. I see some other people off mute. So let me go over to Shamika Joyner, please.
Hi, my name is Shamika Joyner, and a little bit of background. I am from Fayetteville. I graduated from E. Smith. I was in the band at E. Smith. My family, we're all from the area. Graduated from Fayetteville State, and I was an assistant principal for 2 years in Hope County, and now I work for the Board of Education in Hope County. And I recently moved back here to Fayetteville. And what I can say that I don't see is educational resources for students in terms of effective tutoring programs. And what I mean by effective tutoring programs is that a lot of tutoring programs, they have these curriculums, but they do not teach students study skills. They don't teach them the necessary skills they need to progress in school. So then the programs are deemed not successful and not useful. So I believe that there needs to be some type of educational program that trains either educators or maybe even some of the people that are in the education program at Fayetteville State University, but definitely a more meaningful tiered supportive tutoring for students in grades K through 12. And I also believe that as far as E. Smith being where it's at, I believe that it will enhance if the community around it enhances. So not necessarily saying that it needs to move, but the resources that the community around it can I think if that part improves, will be a lot better. But you have a lot of teachers right now who are frustrated from burnout, who are not interested in tutoring after hours, who are frustrated with pay. And so when you have frustrated teachers in the building, you have students that are impacted by that. You have communities that are impacted because students are going to school just to meet an attendance requirement, but they're not leaving with the necessary life skills, 21st century life skills, just things like that. So I think that all that tutoring center should not only focus on academics, but life skills and what it will take to be successful post-graduation.
Mm-hmm. That's fantastic feedback. And I know I think we're all a bit exhausted and frustrated lately. I know I'm here in Chicago and they just closed our schools for a week and the kids have just been home. It's a tough time. And I agree, there needs to be more resources put towards education overall, but specifically to some of the programs that you mentioned, I think that the lack of effective tutoring programs, that's a great note here for us as a departure point for developing some strategy. So thank you for sharing that. All right, I'd like to go over to Annie Kelly from Head Start, please.
Good afternoon. I'm glad to be on the meeting today. My name is Annie Kelly, and I'm the Interim Assistant Director of Head Start. I've been there about almost 37 years, and I echo what Jeanette said. I attended New Boat Elementary School, Washington Drive Junior High School, E. Smith, and Fayetteville State, and grew up in the Murchison Road area. So I'm a proud Merch child, and I'm really excited and happy that we're doing this project to enhance Murchison Road and to let the people there know that we care about them and we want to help them to be proud of where they are. With Head Start, we start before kindergarten. We start 0. So what we like to do, we provide services for the children so that the parents are able to get jobs, so that they're able to go to school. We set goals for the parents. And I would love to, I think it was Fred that was talking about the center, that we can have a one-stop shop where people can go to this one location and get all the needs met that they need to help their families, education, and all of the resources. And we just need to, I think we need, our voices need to go out into the community to help people. And if E.E. Smith moves, I was thinking about that, and I've been thinking about that since I heard it. At first, I had negative views, but because of the history behind E.E. Smith, wherever they move to, it will be an asset to that community, and it will bring that community up. So I think it's not going to hurt to move. It might hurt the people that live in the Broadale areas because they're so used to it there. But wherever they move E.E. Smith to, it would really help. So I think Head Start is Action Pathways is really on board with this. We do have a center in the Murchison Road townhomes, 1 classroom center, and we would love to be a part of this so that we can have many classrooms to help the residents there in order to get better educated. So I'm very on board with this and look forward to working with everyone on this project.
Thank you, Ms. Kelly. Really appreciate that. Thank you for being here. So I've heard that it sounds like you're interested, or you would love to have the ability to expand the Head Start program to serve more people in the neighborhood. So I'm kind of dropping that into a strategy on our 3rd sheet of the worksheet here. I also want to just look at the chat and some of the thoughts that have been coming in on the chat. And KP says, what's working? The elementary and high schools are important to the community and are community focused. What's not working is that we need a middle school, need to leave E.E. Smith where it is, need additional preschool and tutoring support to help students meet identified learning outcomes. So I think that echoes a lot of what's being said here, and thank you for those comments. Anyone else ready to jump in with any ideas, strategies, desired outcomes? One thing we heard at our last meeting, there was a kind of an idea that came up around really the challenge of formerly incarcerated people and re-entering the workforce and what that looks like, and currently that the challenges that they face to even get on Fort Bragg or even get into an area where they can have some employment opportunities. So I wanted to kind of note that because I put it in the desired outcomes for the job training as well. But if anybody would like to weigh in on any of this, feel free to just come on off mute or add your thoughts to the chat.
This is Diana Potts. Most of you know me as having been the chair of the Workforce Development Board for Cumberland County. I have recently stepped off the board to actually become the Career Center manager to implement a lot of change. And we've been discussing this for quite a while, and NC Works, everyone thinks of it as the unemployment center, but actually we are a career center now. And we do training, we do employment opportunities, job hiring fairs, and we are willing to set up a satellite office in that area to actually do training with the people directly in that area. So I think that would be a really good connection into the job training and education for that area.
Are there specific requirements, or like, how would you visualize that office space? What would it need to have?
Basically, we just need the same as they're talking about the one-stop shop. It doesn't, we can go into the rec center even right at this point and get started. We can do workshops, we can bring hiring fairs to them. You know, just for a couple, I mean, we don't have to wait for you know, it'd be nice to have a Capitol building, but until then, we can actually go to the rec center and start doing local workshops and actually getting people work ready. And then bringing in the employers into them on hiring fairs.
Fantastic. Thank you for sharing that. Okay, I see Douglas Garrett has his hand up. Douglas.
Yes, good evening, everyone. My name is Douglas Garrett. Shamika Joyner is my baby sister. We're just talking about the educational part. I'm interested in as well as job training for the ones in the neighborhood. I grew up in the neighborhood. I've been there all my life. My mother and father went to E. Smith. Matter of fact, they graduated from E. Smith just as well as I did. So I've been in the community and I kind of watch people go up and down in the neighborhood with no resources as far as with job training. And I already have property on the Murchison Road that I'm interested in invested in just for that need, for job training and resources for people I grew up with that don't have internet and Wi-Fi access. They have a location for they can come and search for jobs. So I just want to introduce myself on the job training matter because that's my avenue that I'm targeting.
Thank you for being here. Where in the corridor is your property? I'm just curious.
Matter of fact, I don't know if you're familiar. My uncle also have a restaurant on the Merc as well. His name, Mr. Henley's Restaurant.
Yep.
It's right across the street from there. So that's my property over there, which I'm trying to invest in, for job training.
And he's also trying to create something to where there's a program that does not only do the job training, but also follows them throughout maybe the first 6 months after they're hired. So that, it guarantees that they're successful in whatever avenue they have chosen. I'm sorry, it would not allow me to unmute myself. So sorry to interject.
That's fantastic. Thank you for bringing that to our attention. We'll definitely keep that in mind. Thanks for being here.
Thank you.
Okay, I see Kim, did you want to jump back in?
Sure. As far as with the NC Works and the satellite sites, what I would like to see happen is actual paid internships or jobs, a network of jobs for these people who have already completed the training. What I don't want to see is people taking the training and then that's the end of the road.
Yep.
I would like paid internships for these people in place or a network of employers willing to hire, not just job fairs.
Great. Thank you, Kim.
You're welcome.
Are there still job training opportunities for teenagers? Back in the day, I did the JTPA program when I was 14 and 15, and that's how I got introduced into, the working and all that great stuff. I don't hear about that now. Is that still something available? Does anyone know?
This is Diana Potts again. Our next gen actually starts at the age of 16.
Okay, great.
Yeah, so we do have workshops and several different opportunities for those, and we're trying to work a lot more with the high schools than what we've done in the past to be able to get those that are still in high school and to grab those who have just graduated out of high school.
Mm-hmm. And I'd just like to interject. This is Annie Kelly again. Action Pathways, we do have a summer program where we work with our teenagers in the low-income families to let them do internship in some of our Head Start programs in different areas throughout Cumberland County. And if we could just join this together instead of being in silos, it would really work better for our communities and for our children.
Yeah, you hit the nail on the head there, breaking down those silos. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. I think a young man earlier spoke about having a center or like a facility that could sort of house all of this and serve it on a bigger level than what we have now with the Smith Center. It's almost like a community resource center. I don't know if that's exactly what he said, but that would be an opportunity.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Okay, I see Candy's. I want to go over to Candy Scott. She's been waiting patiently to provide some feedback. Candy?
Hi, I'm Candy Scott with the Partnership for Children of Cumberland County. And, our organization helps families find childcare and pay for childcare. And I know childcare is a big issue, and Annie has talked about expanding Head Start, which would be great. But just wanted to throw out there that our organization is willing to work with these teen parents and people who are seeking employment or going through job training or in school and not working, find childcare and have a subsidy program that can help pay for childcare. So I want to make sure that we include that as well, because I do know that that is a barrier for families.
And that's an existing program you have currently?
Yes.
Great.
And we can expand it. It's fairly small right now, but we can definitely expand it if we found there is need.
I'm going to add that to the strategies.
Thank you.
I know that I looked at some of the information that you had as far as the data, but I think the input from the community and the input of what's actually working and what's not actually working is that will probably gain, help us through this project working together to get our biggest ROA, return on investment, ROI, because if not, what ends up happening a lot with my experiences in the neighborhood, and my brother can attest, is that we have these really strong ideas and we have these, and I think someone else mentioned, I don't know if it's because it's done in isolation, but the consistency and the follow-up is not, it's like it's for a little while and then it goes away. And so what happens is by the time, a student may start out in kindergarten in a program, but by the time the student is in middle school, the program is being discontinued because they don't have funds for it or something like that. And children, and they grow up to be adults, and these adults end up being a major part of our community, and they learn the system really well. So while we do have a lot of good things in place, I think it's very important that we realistically look at the impact of the things that we've had in place, how we can enhance them, and like she said, expand it, but definitely take a realistic viewpoint and really look at the data and what is it saying about how we're doing, what we're doing, and how we can come together and make sure that we have people trained to operate in these areas to where they're effective and they're not just 1 year or 2 years or 6 months and then it's closed, because the children who are our future, who are the community, they learn from this, and then that causes other things. So I did want to mention that as well.
Mm-hmm. Adam, I have a vision. This is Annie again. With the Head Start program that we have, if we expanded Head Start, we could have a class in there. Once a person completes their classes at Fayetteville State, Fayetteville Tech, wherever, the center would be set up where they could actually come in and do on-the-job training, actually do internship within the Head Start program. Because sometimes when after a person graduates, people are saying, well, you don't have the experience. You have the education, but not the experience. And we would love to set up a classroom where they could actually come in and get that Head Start, that experience, childcare experience. And this would help them to be able to get a job with Action Pathways or elsewhere, but it would eliminate looking for somewhere to get that on-the-job experience.
Yeah, for sure. So let me ask you, is there a place where that's been done successfully that you know of in other regions, maybe with Head Start or with a similar type program?
We do have other Head Start programs that actually allow interns to come in and work in the classroom to get that experience. And I'm also in the process now of working with Fayetteville Tech for the ones that's in the early childhood education program to complete their internship with Action Pathways Head Start. And, you know, after they complete that, there's the opportunity right there for them to get employment.
Mm-hmm. Great, thank you. Okay, I see three hands up, but I'm not sure if anybody just forgot to put their hand down. But if not, I see Shamika, I see Douglas, I see Kim with their hands up. Any of the three of you want to jump in?
I didn't realize that my hand was still up, but since it was up, I will mention that also mental health services is another thing that is, and I know it's maybe not in this educational part, but definitely is something that needs to be considered when training people who have been incarcerated, even in the educational field. Some of the students that are your target at-risk students, they do suffer from more than just academics. It's mental health, it's those life skills, it's how to cope with anger, how to properly address their emotions. And that's something that's really prevalent in the minority group that we have here in Fayetteville and just all over. So not only looking at academically, but when those inmates come out, how do they process rejection? How do they process how to conduct themselves in an interview? So definitely some type of referral program. Jimmy Henley, who was signed up for this meeting as well, Better Beginnings is his area to where he worked downtown for a number of years, helping people out in this area. But with that one-stop shop, also considering not only just those life skills, but mentally, how to get these people in a position where they can receive help so they can cope when life hits us. Sometimes, we're on a job and we may get laid off. How do we handle that? How do we process that? So it's a lot that goes into just providing these services to where they're actually beneficial to the community. And if my hand stays up, I think it's on accident. I'm not sure why it won't let me put my hand down.
Isn't it getting tired at this point? Yeah, thank you for bringing that up. That has been a topic that has been brought up several times at our larger community meetings of free and low cost mental health services in the neighborhood for local residents. So thanks for echoing that sentiment again.
I want to point out some messages that we have on the chat. We have Kim Lewis, who apparently lost her voice. She wrote that she works at FDCC in the HERD program, and their mission is to help people get a job, keep their job, or get a better job. They provide career assessments, exploring career pathways, and resume writing. And they provide assistance with job searches as well as other often overlooked essential skills. They also assist with creating an action plan for those wanting to continue their education or get specific trades training. And they would love to see all of us come together in a central location. I feel that we keep coming back to this idea of the Capitol Center in a central location, or using the Walmart on Murchison Road. And she agrees with Ms. Potts, and she would be interested in starting by utilizing the space at the recreational center. We have more comments on the chat as well. If anyone wanted to unmute and tell us live what they were thinking.
Yes, this is Mr. Garrett again, Douglas. As Shamika was just mentioning, my brother, me and him had been talking the last few weeks, on the mental health part, because we already have a mental health facility. It's on Hay Street in Fayetteville. We've been in this lane probably for ever since 1999, we've been doing mental health. We had group homes, and we transitioning over to doing outpatient therapy for people that's in our neighborhood at this point right now. So we was going to combine my idea along with his in the same facility on the property that I told you on Murchison Road, so we can just have them come at one source, and they won't have to be scattered everywhere around the neighborhood, because everybody don't have the transportation and the needs to get other places that we all may have.
Yep. Great idea. Thank you. I see Lonnie Ballard is off mute.
Yes. So I just would like to echo the importance of the supportive services, because it doesn't matter how many trainings you offer if someone is working a job and they can't quit their job. We've seen that time and time again where it is a great opportunity, but they can't afford to be without a job for extended period of time while they are actually in training. So from childcare to help with uniforms, bus tickets, all of those things help to make a training program successful. I also think that there should be some focus on consumer education. So we talk a lot about, formal training in terms of job, but if people can't handle a bank account, they can't write a check, they don't understand credit, it really keeps them impoverished. And so there certainly has to be some focus on making sure, and not just adults. From elementary school, middle school, I think that we could do a better job of preparing our young people for the world. And the world is, all of, people trying to sell you something, trying to, use your financial power to a certain extent. And so certainly we want to make sure that people are prepared to do that. And last is health education. So Action Pathways also runs the regional food bank. And what we found is a lot of the issues related to health deals with a lack of education. And so food can be medicine. And if people don't understand like how to put together a diet that is complementary, that helps and not exacerbate a situation from high blood pressure to diabetes. Certainly we want to make sure people are educated with regards to nutrition.
Thanks for sharing that. Yeah, those are important points that we hadn't quite hit on yet in this discussion. So we appreciate you bringing them forward.
Adam?
Yes.
Hi, I just wanted to second everything that gentleman just said, especially the life skills and the education as far as getting them way before they're adults to teach them these life skills. It's always confused me why they couldn't graduate because they missed gym, but then they get out in the real world, they have no idea how to pay bills or how to fix a healthy meal, how to plan a meal, how to shop for those things. And he is absolutely correct. Those things have to be addressed. Absolutely have to be addressed. So I totally agree with everything he just said.
Great. Thank you. I'm just looking over the chat here, making sure we didn't miss anything here. Fred wants to see more Fayetteville State pride overall. Let me get that in there. I think I got it. Yeah. It needs to be contagious. Yes. Shamika, go ahead.
Yeah, I did want to mention internet access as far as tutoring. A lot of with the schools being like right now at any time we could all go remote, which means teachers have to they have to hold their classes on Zoom and things of that nature. So in likeness to that, whatever type of tutoring or enrichment center that is going to be providing tutoring and things of that nature, it would need to be some type of technology that's included in that, and digital literacy, how to conduct yourselves on the internet. There are a lot of teen crimes that take place via the internet. If you look, half the fights that are on the news today, they take place on Instagram, Snapchat, Facebook, and things of that nature. So even having those digital literacy courses, and like that brings me back to the point I mentioned earlier, having skilled individuals that are trained in these areas to conduct these areas, so that before you can sign in today and use your computer, even have those little certificates or certain CEU hours on digital literacy and things of that nature. And that will also combat some of those behaviors that we see, not only in the classrooms, but on the buses, in the neighborhoods as well. So that's part of that life skills, but it's also something else that can coincide with what the schools are implementing as well.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And I think one thing I hadn't mentioned previously is that we're looking at doing a couple of early action projects that touch on these topics. And the first is, you may have heard a little bit about it, but we're hoping to roll out a series of little free libraries throughout the neighborhood that can help improve access to books.
Yes, I saw that.
Yeah.
I saw that.
So we're moving forward on that. Hopefully get those moving in the spring, and we want to do 19 of them throughout the community. The other one that's a bigger project overall is providing free Wi-Fi internet access to a large portion of the neighborhood, including the Murchison townhouse property and several other key locations within the community through like hotspots. So we actually have a committee set up for, we're calling it the Digital Literacy Initiative, I believe, or Digital Equity Initiative. So I think we have actually have a meeting tomorrow. So we're trying to figure out the logistics of that, but there's funding through this grant to help pay for that. And so just trying to make sure it's sustainable long term.
Wonderful.
Yep. I see Douglas has his hand up.
Yes, sir. I just want to touch bases on, I think these a lot of good suggestions, what we all putting out there, but I just wanted to put it, it's also good for know what the neighborhood want inside itself. Me and my brother for the last 2 weeks been going around knocking on doors and asking people what do they want in the neighborhood to make it better. So I just want to commend everyone on the ideas tonight, because it did a lot of things that we brought up. That's what was the problem that we having right now in the neighborhood.
Mm-hmm. Are there other things that you're hearing that haven't been brought up yet?
Well, yes, it's something, but I just remember I wouldn't go into it at this time because, some of it's personal with people and I just don't want to share it at this time.
Okay. All right. Sounds good. Well, keep us in the loop if there's certain things you hear about or learn.
I will. I will
we
definitely
can
do that.
kind of address in this plan. That'd be great.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. And I do see some things in the chat about seniors that need their homes renovated. Yeah, that was something we touched on during our meeting this morning with housing and commercial development. Improving increasing the funding that's available through grants and helping people access those resources that may not know about city funding that they could use to improve their properties. We didn't talk a whole lot about the homeless population during our earlier meeting, but is there anything specific? I think Annie Kelly had brought it up about the homeless population in the area. Any thoughts on that?
We're talking about renovating, and we're talking about scholarships, different things for the colleges, but everybody doesn't fit into that mold.
Mm-hmm.
So we really need to look at how are we going to help the homeless population? Because if we clean up everything else and we're not helping them, we're not really complete. So I was just wondering if there was any plans for any homeless shelters, any home locations for the homeless to get them off the street.
Yeah, I don't know that there's any current plans, but I think that's something that could be addressed through this choice neighborhood effort. So thank you for bringing that up again, and make sure that we'll keep that in mind going forward. Let's go next to Candy, please.
Just in regard to the homeless, I know that a lot of libraries, like public libraries across the state, do work with the homeless population. Part of the reason being is that homeless people will go to the library during the day when they're open. So some libraries across the state are doing some kinds of job training and education for the homeless. So I just wanted to bring that up because that might be a good place for us to collaborate to address some of the homeless issues because of that connection that the public libraries have with that population
Mhm.
and some of the things that they're already doing.
And is that being done there in Cumberland County, or is it just other places you've seen?
Just other place. I actually got invited to a statewide conference, and I did have individuals from the Cumberland County Public Library go with me. Unfortunately, they're no longer with the library. But you know, I do think it's a really good resource, and it's probably not, and it's not, I know it's not being used to that extent here. But you know, this could be an opportunity.
Thank you. Okay, anyone else like to jump in?
So Adam, as far as the homeless community is concerned, from what I'm understanding, there seems to be buildings that we're not using that can actually be shelters for the homeless, and I'm not exactly sure how we go about accessing them. And then the other thing that I noticed, not just in Fayetteville, but in a couple of other cities, there are more shelters and opportunities for men than women with children.
Mhm.
That's a disparity
Mhm.
that we seem to see a lot. My only thing is that we have a lot of buildings that are not being utilized. I'm not exactly sure why they can't be turned into shelters and trained individuals also meet them at their point of need there. And you kind of graduate through the program that all these other programs. But if a person is homeless, they are hungry, they can't partake of education or training when they're worried about where they're going to sleep and how they're going to eat.
Yep.
So for this to be successful, I really think we really need to do more than just take a look at the homeless situation. We have to implement something there because we're including everyone.
Okay, thank you.
Mhm.
So I wanted to ask, on this third page, we've got a whole range of strategies that are starting to come together. Are there places that you all know of that are good models for us to look at? For example, for a one-stop shop kind of community capital space, or for a program that is very strong, that has to deal with internships or apprenticeships. We're just looking for kind of like case studies or precedents that we can explore.
When you say case studies, do you mean places to where these type things have been implemented before, or
Exactly.
places in which? Okay, okay. Are we able to like communicate with you through email? It's like outside, you know, as far as this with data, because I don't have it on hand.
Oh,
But like I
absolutely.
do think that the data is going to drive this project. So I'll be more than glad to send over some information if that's okay.
Yeah, I just put my email in the chat, so feel free to send it over. We're always looking for places that have been successful implementing some of these programs, and then thinking about how we can learn from them.
Okay.
Yeah, one area mentioned, I guess with the homelessness, I know Tallahassee, Florida has a like a day center, but it's like a state of the art, state of the art. They have a really big benefactor. I used to work for the city there, but a great example, I would think.
Thank you.
Yeah, and something else that had been mentioned is like entrepreneurship, and I don't know if that is in another category, or another group, but
No, we can hit that here.
Yeah, so you have all that talent at Fayetteville State, leaving leaving Fayetteville and sometimes probably even North Carolina. What do we do to keep them here? What do we do to keep that talent here? And so having some type of incubation center, something where we could actually train entrepreneurs, I think would be important. And again, I think Leon County in Florida is a good example of a center that was built.
Leon County?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, I'm not sure if you all know, but the FSU is moving their entrepreneurship incubation center over to Bronco Square. I don't know if they might have already moved, but the idea is to expand it and offer more resources for the neighborhood and for students to be able to, I guess, achieve success through those programs. So that might be the starting point of a model of an incubator entrepreneurship center model. So that's something that I'm really interested in over the next year. How can we make that space, which it was the old bookstore, into a real hub of the neighborhood?
Adam,
Mm-hmm.
Have you considered the Greater 5 Points Transformation Plan?
That's a good one to look at, and that's the Choice Neighborhood Plan from New Bern, North Carolina.
Correct.
That achieved a lot of successful outcomes and continues to.
Yes.
We're planning with our ambassadors to take a field trip to New Bern sometime in the next couple months to learn more about how they were able to start to achieve some success.
Excellent.
I see somebody new in the group here, M. Bassnight, I think has his or her hand up.
Yes, Ivory. Good afternoon,
Hi.
everyone. I just wanted to chime in on someone mentioned about a lot of vacant buildings here in the Fayetteville area. And I know when you started off the meeting, you talked about asset building was what you guys were kind of like the framework. And I think that is a good thing to consider. I've moved several places, but I have never seen so many vacant and or abandoned buildings in a city like I've seen here in Fayetteville. And, you know, if capital was not a problem, I think Fayetteville could really have a lot of, you know, many more resources, because a lot of the infrastructure is already here, although it may need to be cleaned up or whatever the case may be. And I'm not certain, you know, the status of any of these buildings, but when you're talking about you know, adding more programs to the community of Fayetteville, then I just want to, you know, highlight even more so that there is a lot of infrastructure here in Fayetteville and in that area that already exists. So you're not talking about building from the ground up, rather you're just talking about building from what's already laid. So I just wanted to add that tidbit.
Yeah, thank you for bringing that up. And a lot of times, if you think about sustainability, the most sustainable approach is to utilize a building that's already been built, as long as it can be rehabbed for a reasonable amount. That's a great strategy to house new programs in existing buildings when possible.
I do have one question for you. Speaking of what Ms. Bassnight was saying, in terms of the buildings that you're utilizing and the project itself, is this to fund nonprofit or for-profit? Because I will tell you from my experiences in Fayetteville, that right there makes a difference in the longevity of certain programs that we have in the community due to, you know, lack of funding, lack of sources. So as you guys are making these investments, is there a certain requirement in terms of for-profit businesses and nonprofit?
Not so much a requirement. I think that what we'll need to do as we get into the later stages of the year is identify primary partners for the different elements of the plan. So we'll probably have a nonprofit organization that leads the people plan and oversees it. But within that, there may be for-profit partners that are carrying out certain programs and strategies. But that's kind of yet to be determined. And we don't have a requirement from HUD to go like one direction or the other with that.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, and this is Melissa Bassnight, the person that spoke prior to Ms. Joyner, I think her name was Ivory.
Okay.
I haven't spoke yet, but I did come in late. I do apologize for coming in a little later. But I am grew up in the community. I attended E.E. Smith, and I was the last of 6 kids who graduated from E.E. Smith. And several people that are on the call, we all grew up in the community together. So we all have great concern about what's happening or what's going to happen in the future of our community. Also with the high school, E.E. Smith, as it, is considered to be an historically Black high school, right next to a historically Black college. And they've coincided together for so many years with educational, continuing education and pretty much joining at the hip. I just wanted to know, has anyone thought about, or has it been mentioned, because we're in this, as opposed to the school, we're in the same situation that West Charlotte was in. So if someone in West Charlotte pretty much was landlocked and everything, but they are in the process of rebuilding in the same location because the community came together and voiced their opinions, and their concern was the school either keep it there, rebuild to try to help save the community. So just wanted to see if someone could maybe look into what West Charlotte did, because they're going up. They're rebuilding, but they're going up. I do know the situation with E. Smith, and I know that we are considered to be landlocked, but I'm just looking at if we're trying to revitalize that in that corridor of Murchison Road, what could we do to try to do the same thing with E. Smith instead of moving it out, if we're trying to revitalize that in, because E. Smith is part of that corridor. So, that just wanted to know if someone could maybe check into what West Charlotte did.
Absolutely. So I've added that to our list here under strategies. Where has it been done successful? So we'll look into that a little bit more. I do know the nature of the discussions about moving E. Smith are maybe a little bit of a higher level from what we can influence in our group, but I think the idea of making sure that that facility remains a community asset in some way is something that needs to be in the plan. And a little bit earlier in the meeting, there were different topics brought up about reusing that building as like a community capital space. That would be like a one-stop resource center for the neighborhood. And so I think something like that could be a positive transition for the future of that campus, if and when that came to fruition.
Okay.
I do have something to add to previous conversations.
Yes.
If I'm not mistaken, for those who went to Fayetteville State University, I'm not gonna lie, I've been here all my life, and I don't know exactly what Fayetteville State is known for when it comes to its specific educational piece. Like, for example, you go to Chapel Hill, the pride there is very strong. It's like throughout all of Chapel Hill. NC State, is all throughout, you know, in Raleigh area and Durham and everything. So when it comes to Fayetteville State, it's almost like it's just stuck in that one block in that one time zone. But after doing research, I've found that I kept finding that criminal justice and psychology, Fayetteville State is just known for it being the most affordable campus for psychology and criminal justice, which touches on the subjects of what we were talking about earlier about mental health. And then at the same time, what Fayetteville has been in the media for a lot lately, you know, was this, you know, the items relating to criminal justice. So I'm wondering if that is the case for those who went to Fayetteville State University, you can correct me on what Fayetteville State is actually known for when it comes to its education. If that holds truth to criminal justice and psychology, I believe that's what we should do, is take that pride that I was talking about earlier and expand it all throughout Murchison Road to those vacant areas. Fayetteville State and the city joint partnership or something, and, you know, renovate those buildings dedicated to criminal justice and psychology, and that will spread that pride throughout the entire Murchison Road area.
Thanks, Fred. Yeah, does anyone have any insight on that? If that really is what FSU is known primarily for?
In the
I know that it is criminal justice, but when I started, it was the business program, and most recently, the nursing program is really up there too.
Yes. The nursing program, when I was in school, which was back in, 88, it was the education program. I think Fayetteville State has gone through many iterations of re-identifying and, you know, just sort of getting its educational programs up to par and being being seen as being, you know, a place to send your child or to engage in terms of enrolling. But the nursing program is one right now that I think is really what it's well known for, and as well as the social work program. If you many of the educators in the city of Fayetteville that I know of personally have gone through the educational program for their master's degrees and things in their doctoral degrees as well. So it varies. Not one school is always known for one thing, and so that offers up opportunities for our community in terms of being able to have a variety of educational opportunities to choose from, which I think is excellent.
Yeah, well, that's what I would like to see then, if because I'm big on culture. My mom has 9 brothers and sisters, and it's 10 of them, and they're well established here in Fayetteville. And I believe in culture and diversity. And it sounds like from what you all are saying is that Fayetteville State is very diverse when it comes to its education. So I guess all of those items, all of the subjects is what, you know, I would like to see personally.
I was going to just comment. I think
seeing those multiple educational, you know, fields being displayed throughout the community from Fayetteville State would be awesome.
Yeah, thank you, Fred. That's a great thing to bring up, and appreciate that. Think somebody else want to jump in?
It speaks to, I guess, you know, more of the technical planning term of placemaking, infusing some of the history and the culture that already exists into the physical aspect of Murchison Road, looking at some of the significant history, whether it's social justice, and I believe there's an MLK part there. Placemaking is really taking those public spaces and making it relevant to the history of Murchison Road, which I think gives it interest.
Lonnie, you sure you're not an urban planner? Using the dead on right terminology.
Yeah, I used to be an assistant city manager for development.
Oh, there you go. Okay. Love it.
Okay, Adam, I just wanted to interject.
I agree, because I just heard him mention the ML King part, because a lot of people do not realize that Martin Luther King Monument statue is where it's located, back there on Washington Drive. It's just back there. No one knows it's back there. A lot of people don't. So in all actuality, you know, that somehow we need to come together to try to make that to where it's not just sitting back there and no one knows it's back there. So I agree with what he just said.
It's funny you say that. We have a Parks and Open Space working group that's going to meet tomorrow. So
Okay.
I'm going to share that with them, and also if anyone would like to join that group as well, it's really Parks, Open Space, and Transportation. So thank you for bringing that up. And I think I saw Annie. Annie, did you want to jump in?
I did. I just wanted to, when I was at Newbo, Fayetteville State University was known as Fayetteville State Teachers College. And that's what it was way back then. And, but now it's they've developed such a great program in the area. With the shortage of teachers that we are experiencing now, many leaving the field, Fayetteville State is playing a very big part as far as the early education, as well as the other academics for elementary, middle, and high school teachers. So that's one thing that we can really look to Fayetteville State to help us to replenish the teachers, because we're going to need the teachers, because we're always going to have the children. So we're going to have to really depend on Fayetteville State to help us replenish our supply of teachers in not only the Murchison Road area, but in Cumberland County area itself.
Now, currently, they have an internship when once the teachers get to their practicum, where it's time for them to spend some time, we call it field experience and observation hours. And they partner with they partner with like Cumberland, Pembroke, Hope County is another school district that they partner with in their education department to complete their clinical hours. And so I think when they get to that part, there should definitely be some type of community involvement to where they would want to stay here in the district and teach, because a lot of times once they finish their clinicals, they're gone, either to teach online, but a lot of teachers are opting to, or going to a completely different state where there's higher teacher pay, which obviously, you know, we can't do anything about that. But that's definitely a good point. But also just while they're in those programs, maybe reaching out to them and providing support to them while they're in those programs as well, completing their field observation and their clinical hours would be a good idea as well.
Yeah, and something related to that that's been brought up previously was the idea of an employer housing program for Fayetteville State, where teachers and staff would be incentivized to live within a certain distance of campus in order to kind of strengthen the local housing market. And that may provide opportunities for young people to remain in the city, you know, after they graduate and they want to continue on either teaching at FSU or working there. So I think that's something that we'll probably look at with our housing and commercial working group as well.
I think someone mentioned, Adam, that when they, after they've completed their, in the process of their internship, that many people that are working will have to stop working for the time for their internship. And with Action Pathways, we've developed a program where staff can actually continue working while they're doing that internship with Head Start under Action Pathways. And this is something we've developed with not only Fayetteville State, but Pembroke also. And this will help a person not to lose their job, not to worry about what they're going to do when it's time to complete their internship.
Great. All right, well, we have just a couple minutes remaining. I think Douglas, is your hand up?
No, I'm sorry. It wasn't up.
Okay, no problem. All right, well, you all absolutely knocked it out of the park today. This was an awesome meeting. I don't know that we've ever had this much feedback in an hour and a half long session. So give yourselves a virtual round of applause. And we really appreciate you being here and doing everything that you do. I just wanted to, before we go, I just want to share with you our upcoming schedule. Let me see if I can pull it up real quick here, so you know when the next meetings are going to be. Give me 1 second. Okay. Okay, here it is. So our next meeting is scheduled for Tuesday, February 8th, same time, same place, most likely, online, 3:30 to 5. And so you'll be seeing reminders in your email, as well as links to the notes from today. And that meeting, again, is going to be taking this big laundry list of ideas we have and starting to really prioritize it in terms of importance and how we can think about kind of really moving these things forward. And then the third round will be Tuesday, March 8th, 3:30 to 5. And during that meeting, we're really going to start to identify potential partners and resources that may be able to be tapped for some of these projects. So again, just want to thank everybody for being here. This was a fantastic meeting. We've recorded it if anybody would like to review it. We're also going to send that out to folks who weren't able to make it today, and hopefully they can plug in their thoughts as well. But just wanted to say thank you, everybody, and have a great rest of your week.
Thank you, Adam. Wonderful meeting, everyone. Have a great week.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.